Well, I don't think any of us should really be telling um, any fan how to think about what happened against Oregon State, what could be happening against New Mexico. So I guess let's not get hung up. I'm not going to get hung up in that, okay? Because everybody has their own perspective that they bring to the table. I just think that the expectations need to now come back down. And before, I would say they should defeat New Mexico by 3 touchdowns or more, whatever the spread is. I would say, let's see how they perform. Let's see this team and how they are apt to perform against the opponent that they have this evening. And I do believe that it's easy for me to get caught up in what they should look like, what they've looked like 10 years ago, or whatever other frame of reference that we want to use. So what I'm thinking needs to happen is that we need to stop and now look and see how they perform against a defense that'll be tough to find. Okay. That's one of the keys, is that Rocky Long will have those 11 chess pieces against Boise State's offense rotating in constant motion. So for the offensive line, they're going to have to identify, communicate, and be able to work together on that. I don't think they'll be as physically mismatched as it appeared they were against Oregon State with Boise State's offensive line. So that's positive. It's just, can they line up in the right spots and cover their assignments as Rocky continues to confuse most of his opponents? So I would start with there. I need to see this now. And I think that that's the fairest way to do this. I'm not at practice. I'm not in meetings. I don't understand the vibe of everything. And you can see that a coach is in those environments and they're designing things to win. And that didn't happen at with the game against Oregon State. So a new approach is needed for me in how I will look at the team in the game. And will they make improvement off of Oregon State? Well, they have a different opponent. Specifically defensively, scheme-wise, I can't see how much you could get out of Green in this unless you bring him in for special run packages where he's a number and he's a run number. I would think Hank gives him the best chance because he can make the checks. He can at least get guys lined up a lot closer to where they need to be to execute. Can he execute? Let's see it before anything else. He's done it before. He's not done it before. Let's see what happens in this particular situation. Now, we'll touch on special teams, but over to the offensive side of the ball for New Mexico, they don't have much firepower. They could have some surprises. They didn't have a great offense last year. They've lost some of those guys, and that shouldn't be a big challenge. That being said, Boise State's defensive line had some issues with Oregon State. But like one of the Oregon State offensive linemen who Derek Fox, an agent, told me is a kid from Caldwell. He's a 3-year starter at Oregon State. He was the Pac-12 offensive lineman of the week for his efforts against Boise State. So they're not going to be there. The New Mexico offensive line should be nowhere near what Oregon State had, which I thought was an excellent physical group that really took it to Boise State in certain situations. So that won't be there. And I think they can now get more pressure on the quarterback. They want to produce some turnovers. So if I'm looking at both sides of the ball, to me, defensively, they're going to need a lot of help. Now, the other part of the game is the special teams piece. You got to hit your field goals. You want to create a better field position for yourself when you are stuck with punting the football so that you can gain some field position advantage, and give your offense a break by pinning them back, getting some 3 and outs, getting the ball back on the 40 and the 50, and helping the momentum of everything. So the special teams have to improve tremendously as well. We could start isolating on wide receivers and separation and speed and tight ends blocking. And, there's just improvement across the board. This is not the 2010, 12, or even 15 Boise State Broncos. This is 2022. And these are smart coaches. These are good football people, as most coaches really are. And how they will approach this game with this group, you will have a best sense, I think, somewhere in that first quarter to know how emotionally ready they are and how this game is going. I think after this game, we can regroup and start laying some expectations out for opponents like Oregon State, for opponents like New Mexico, and sort of everybody in between. And hey, maybe after this weekend, you're going to look at BYU and go, wow, they took it to Baylor. That could be a real trouble game down the road. Well, we'll see. That BYU is pretty darn good, but let's not get ahead of ourselves. So the expectations need to come down. That's not a good thing. That's just what it is, though. And trust your leaders, which are your coaches, and they have the best intentions. And it does not help for me to sit here and say to fire anybody or change out anybody. That makes it harder to recruit new people in here. You can think it, you can say it in private, like coaches talk in private. But when we do it in a very public fashion, I don't think it has much benefit at all. I understand the fan angst, but I ain't gonna tell anybody how to behave. That's all up to you. So there it is. I'm not giving a prediction, but that's what I'm going to be looking for. How about you?